I think we're relatively late in the cycle and declining in the following sense. We are, let's say, at the brink. We're close to this. Now, that doesn't mean it's inevitable. Really, it all comes down to how we are with each other. The world has more resources, more wealth than it ever had. And if there's peace and working together to deal with the sharing of the wealth and the opportunities in certain ways, you can avoid wars, internal and external.
Now, what we are hearing from Ray Dalio is a concerning message regarding the geopolitical tensions that are still there. But also, this is foreshadowing where we are currently right now with the New World Order. And in this video, I really want to go in depth on this and talk to you guys more about this and really kind of assess where we are at right now. So welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. If we go over here, we have BRICS nations set for 4.4% growth in 2024 to 2025, outpacing G7 economies. We know today that the overall tensions between the BRICS and the G7 continue to grow and grow and grow. And we're just waiting for something to happen about around this. Like, what is the end game here? Is it just de-dollarization? Is it, killing the US dollar? Is it moving away from the US dollar? What is the end game here? And when you look at both sides of the story, you can kind of see where we are headed. And I'm going to address that here in a second, but I also want to address, yes, GDP growth, the G7 and the BRICS, you can clearly see a very big move when it comes to the BRICS. They are outpacing the G7 significantly, and this is now becoming a big problem, especially as we do start to see dominance usurped from the G7 to the BRICS. And also, not just dominance, but also control of power. When we look at what is going on right now outside of the US, mainstream media won't report on anything that the BRICS are doing. And the reason why is because they are now starting to work with some of the largest players out there in the energy markets. We're talking about Saudi Arabia. We are talking about Iran. We are talking about a very significant shift in the global landscape of dominance, and it is challenging the reserve currency status of the US dollar. Now, also over here, we have the BRICS versus the G7 in numbers, and this goes from 2023 all the way up to about roughly 2029. And this is the share of global GDP in PPP terms, share of world population, share of the global oil production, and the contribution to world economic growth. And if you actually look at all of this, one thing is very clear. The BRICS are becoming a very significant powerhouse. And I want to put a spotlight on the share of the global oil production, because this is where we start to see a very big shift. 41% to 29%. It's very clear on why a lot of the G7 nations are now pushing for EV and, sustainability and ESG practices. It's because as we really look at the BRICS, they are gaining significantly in dominance in the oil market. But outside of this, we also know that the BRICS are looking to build a new world order. Russia calls for an alternative to the IMF and even the World Bank. This is all to step away from Western control. They don't want to have anything to do with any control that the West would have over them. And that does mean, moving towards a completely different financial system based off of, SWIFT. They want to create a new SWIFT-like system. They also want to create new digital currencies to get around sanctions. I mean, they are now starting to develop and move forward on a lot of these major initiatives that should concern the US. But currently speaking, we're not reporting on it. We're not doing anything about it. and it feels as though this is by plan. And it does go back to 2022 when we announced the sanctions against Russia. 24 hours later, we got an executive order regarding CBDCs and digital currencies within the US. And now we are starting to see the BRICS moving forward on a lot of these major initiatives to move away from the IMF, the World Bank, the SWIFT network. And how are they doing all of this? How are they, going about this? What is the secret behind their entire move? Well, it is using digital currencies, using new technologies. Russia proposes a BRICS multi-currency system for cross-border trade. Russia is proposing reforms to cross-border payment systems among BRICS countries to bypass the global financial system and shield its economy from sanctions. The proposed alternatives include creating a network of commercial banks to facilitate transactions in local currencies and establishing direct connections between central banks. A report from the Russian Finance Ministry, the Bank of Russia, and consultancy Ikov and Partners highlights the need for this multi-currency system to protect participants from external pressures such as sanctions. The report also notes that U.S. interests do not always align with those of other members in the global financial network. The plan also involves establishing trade hubs for commodities like oil, natural gas, grain, and gold. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, the U.S. and its allies imposed severe sanctions, freezing Russia's foreign assets and cutting major Russian banks from the SWIFT financial system. In response, Russia has been working to reduce its reliance on the US dollar. However, other BRICS countries, which aren't under the same sanctions pressure, continue to value access to the dollar-based financial system. Globally, the US dollar accounts for 58% of international payments outside the Eurozone and 54% of foreign trade invoices as of 2022, according to Brookings Institution. Now, outside of this, I want to play this clip from Ray Dalio and then really kind of continue on why I believe that this is all leading us down a very significant path to a completely new global financial system based on digital currencies utilizing DLT, stablecoins, CBDCs, and so forth.
And what is the moment we're in now? Are we, in your judgment, in a moment in which the world order is going to change?
Yes, we're changing the world order. Okay. In 1945, we started the new world order. What I mean is, throughout history, there's a fight for control because there's no world court that you go to and plead your case. And so there's a fight for power. So there's a war, and then the winners come out of that war, and the winners set the rules. And so 1945, the United States had 80% of the world's money. Gold was money at the time. It had half the world's GDP. It had a monopoly on military power. So the U.S. set the world order. That's why the United Nations is in New York. Washington, D.C. has the IMF and the World Bank.
And its currency became the reserve currency.
And its currency became the reserve currency because of that set of circumstances. Okay, things evolve. Things change. Okay, over history. So the three big things that are changing now that haven't occurred in our lifetime is the amount of debt and money creation, which affects the value of money, and you could see it affecting what's going on every day.
Large debt means the printing of money.
Right. The large debt puts central bankers in a choice. Do you pay it back with hard money, or do you pay it back with printed devalued money? And if you pay it back with hard money, it's hard. In other words, that's when you have debt crises. So in all cases, they eventually print money, and that produces inflation, right? So that dynamics, the first...
And that's the place we are at this moment.
That's the place we are at this moment.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that.
We'll drill down on that.
In a minute. The second is when there's a great internal conflict, usually when there's a large wealth and values gap. And at the same time as you have a financial problem. Then you get populism of the left and populism of the right. In other words, those who feel disenfranchised want people who are going to fight for them. They don't want compromisers. They don't want them to be in the middle, because middle means that they're not fighting for them. They want them to have guts. So that you have populists of the left and populists
And
of
their
the right.
positions harden.
And their positions harden, and there are no compromises. That's why we're potentially in a situation that you could see in one of these elections, maybe in 2024, that neither side would accept losing. Perhaps we see that. You see, maybe you don't follow the rulings of the Supreme Court. Anyway,
That's a serious question today.
So these things have not happened in our lifetime, but they happened many times in history. So if you look at that, you see from those patterns why the gaps become greater and the positions harden, and you see the dynamic. So that's the second. And the third is the rise of a great power to challenge the existing great power. In other words, I gave you the example of how the United States was so dominant in 1945. Now it's not as dominant. It is not dominant. In other words, China and the opposition is as strong as the United States and its allies. And so we have a conflict. And there are 5 kinds of wars. And they start in this order, just sequentially, typically. A trade war, a technology war, a geopolitical influence war. Then you get into a capital and economic warfare, which we are now with sanctions. They always happened in history. And then there's a military war. And so you could see that progression happen through time. And that creates a template. So I like to look at the template and then plot dots to see how we're transpiring relative to that template.
And this is exactly what is happening right now. We are seeing almost everything that Ray Dalio is mentioning in this video clip happening right now in the world. And all of this is just pressure building up for the New World Order. And this is exactly what the BRICS are accelerating. They are accelerating this, and both sides want this. That's where everyone is getting the whole BRICS motive wrong. They're looking at what the BRICS are doing and they're saying like, all right, that's it. You know, the US is done. No, the US also wants this. If you look at the documentation, if you look at what the Fed has been saying, if you look at what a lot of these agencies have been saying, they want this as well. Because it benefits the elites and the top 1% and the big players. They all want this. By the way, we have over here breaking news. Russia proposes changes to BRICS cross-border payments to bypass the global financial system. The world continues to change. Report says settlements with tokens could save billions. This is all to accelerate the digital tokenized economy that gives control to the powers that want the control, the elites, the big players on, Main Street, the ones that want to pull the strings and have been pulling the strings for decades now. And as we really think about what's happening, guys, we are just a couple days away from the BRICS summit. This is going to be an event where we do see some very significant changes. Even over here, we have no one understands the profound changes coming on October 22nd with the new BRICS Global Monetary Order. For the sake of humanity itself, the world is ready and must leave the United States and the dollar. With Turkey and Iran for sure getting admitted into BRICS, about 70% of the world's population will be in BRICS. All the naysayers have a stake in the dollar not collapsing, too bad for them. But this is not about, the dollar collapsing. Although, yes, I do agree that this is going to be one of the biggest events, because not only are we seeing a ton of countries lining up to participate in this summit, 35 countries already confirmed their participation in the upcoming summit. I think the total number is like well over 100 that will be there in participation. But this isn't just about the collapse of the dollar. It's not just about the collapse of, the United States, for an example. This is about ushering in a new world order, a completely new financial system. And you could see the writing on the wall. All you have to do is read it. It's all based on tokens. They want to tokenize. They want to have everything digital. We are witnessing the self-destruction of the current financial system through a lot of these major events and crises and significant, geopolitical tensions, wars. All of it is just adding up to collapse the old financial system, accelerate the collapse of the old financial system, give everyone a problem so that we can get a reaction and push the solution. And right now, we're kind of getting that problem where, all right, Russia's the bad guy, the US is the good guy, Russia's pushing for a tokenized financial system essentially to, push against the dollar and push against the, SWIFT financial system. We need to do something about this. We need to usher in a digital dollar. We need to usher in a digital dollar financial system. That's exactly what all of this is about. It's to push the same agenda. The agenda is already in progress. It's already in place. This is all by plan. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.